Still alone in the living room with John Ramsey, Arndt then heard Patsy Ramsey's voice.
And I heard a wail, just a guttural moan, aching wail from the back area. It's probably one of the most pitiful things I've ever heard, and anguished. And I saw the rest of the people, the Patsy and the pastor and the 4 friends, come from the den towards the living room. So I said, if you want to say goodbye to JonBenét, this is the only time you'll have to do it. And, oh, there's just so much. There's so much pain. And I called 911. I gave my radio number. And I said, the kidnapping has turned into a murder.
This house had suddenly become a homicide crime scene.
Oh, it became hell. JonBenét was brought up at about 5 minutes after 1. And at 10 after 1, nobody'd shown up. And I looked out the window to the street and I saw an ambulance slowly drive by. And I thought, I am in the Twilight Zone.
Meanwhile, the pastor led the Ramseys and their friends in prayer in the living room, holding hands as JonBenét's body lay before them.
I thought that would be the best way to organize everyone, to keep them distracted, to keep them from touching JonBenét, and to keep them focused on something other than looking at JonBenét.
1:20 p.m., after 3 hours as the only officer on what Arndt calls an incredibly tense crime scene, and 20 minutes after JonBenét's body was found, backup finally arrived. The next day, the autopsy on JonBenét was conducted. Linda Arndt was there.
I hadn't seen savagery done to a child or even an adult until the doctor peeled back her scalp and saw that horrific fracture to her head. It was the length of her head.
It was 8.5 inches long, and there was something else even more disturbing.
She had trauma to her vagina.
What kind of trauma?
It would be trauma that would be consistent with injuries seen in sexual assault cases.
Recently?
I guess the best way to say that was what was seen was not a first-time injury.
The coroner, in fact, said the evidence was inconclusive, but ABC News has confirmed that 3 medical experts who consulted for the Boulder Police Department concluded the injuries were consistent with prior sexual abuse.
And the coroner and the police saying crap like that proves 100%, that this is not some misunderstanding. This isn't a mistake. This isn't sloppiness. This is a satanic conspiracy, okay? If it's a high-ranking Mason, it needs to be killed. End of story. Okay? Or do you want to allow this kind of crap to continue?
As the Ramsey investigation dragged on for weeks, then months, and then years, the criticism of Linda Arndt's actions that December day continued. But she still defends her actions, saying she has become a scapegoat for a flawed investigation. And Linda Arndt remains convinced that she knows who killed JonBenét Ramsey. She will not say the killer's name, but has no doubt that justice will never be done.
Do you think this person will ever be indicted, will ever be charged or convicted?
No.
What you're saying is, whoever killed JonBenét will get away with murder.
Yes.
Everything about this thing has the hallmarks of a ritual satanic family. You know, these people, supposedly they were partially cleared because their DNA didn't match the parents. Well, you know, this is going to be a satanic thing. It's going to involve many people in the community. So it's not just going to be the parents. The parents maybe didn't actually commit the murder, but they were probably part of it. They allowed it. One thing in Satanism, it's a big deal, is like to sacrifice your child is considered to be a real big thing. You know, sacrificing your child to Satan, Satan, Moloch, Baal, is considered a real great honor in Satanism, and often, you know, Satanists are required to sacrifice one of their children. There's a lot of this that goes on, and a lot of this is done, you know, secretly. Some women, secretly get pregnant and then they sacrifice their baby. There's a lot of that goes on. That's also why abortion is promoted. And, you know, first of all, they got the whole media, television, movies, and music promoting unsafe sex towards teenagers and children. But then they're also promoting abortion. So that way, you know, they consider abortion as like a form of human sacrifice, child sacrifice. That's why it's promoted. That's why they got that play on words. You know, if you're pro-abortion, you're a champion of women's rights. You know, what twisted logic. Pedophilia is very common within these satanic families. In fact, homosexual pedophilia is often pushed. I saw a book one time showed JonBenét's mother and her daughter holding her daughter. They're both nude, and they were looking very sensuous. And this is not the typical mother-daughter relationship. And like I said, if you study Satanism, it's very common for them to be involved with homosexual pedophilia, that women molest little girls, men molest little boys. I made a video a while ago about Harry Potter and Satanism, and you can look that up if you want. It's actually an interesting video. One scene, I'll show you one scene from that. You notice there's a scene where they got to get past this three-headed dog. All this stuff has got mythological significance. There's no way one person could have known all this. J.K. Rowling is obviously part of some kind of a satanic thing. There's no way a 30-year-old school teacher would know all this mythology, because every single character, every name in there has mythological significance, and a lot of it's rare and obscure terms that most people wouldn't know. Dumbledore means white bumblebee in Old English, for instance. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not going to get into all that. Look up my other video if you want to check it out. But I'm going to show you this one scene. Okay, they're trying to get past this three-headed dog, and the dog wakes up, and it drools. And anybody who's had a dog knows that, you know, this doesn't look like ordinary dog drool. Ordinary dog drool is clear. Now, what does that look like to you? It looks like semen to me. Okay? And note that the semen lands on the boy. It doesn't land on the girl. It's like I said, they're into homosexual pedophilia. Now, you know, there's been rumors that Daniel Radcliffe, the guy who played Harry Potter, is gay or at least bisexual. There's been talk that Emma Watson, who played Hermione, is a lesbian, or at least bisexual. Like I said, you know, they push this stuff, man. It was like 2 years ago when I first did this Harry Potter and Satanism thing. And I was already talking about there, I noticed the homosexual thing. Now I did a little search on the internet. There's all kinds of stuff claiming all three of the main stars are gay. All three of them. In fact, I actually saw about some nude photos of Emma Watson engaging in lesbian and heterosexual sex. They claim that they're fake, but she seems to have the same body in several of these pictures. Obviously, I can't show these pictures to you, but the nipples look the same. She's got certain moles. Unless they're using a stand-in double that's the same person for each one of these fake shots. And another thing is, if they got there's all these people supposedly putting out fake porn with these stars, how come they're not suing them for slander? I mean, I would if somebody put fake porn out about me. I'm probably not going to be doing as many videos anymore because I'm getting really busy with a lot of things. I've been way behind in my correspondences for a long time, as many of you have noticed. Also, I've said a lot of the things that need to be said, but I'm going to keep, as I see There's details I can get into as I see certain things that I think are very profound and need to be mentioned. I will. There's like a dividing line, you know, that we walk down through all life. It's like walking down a razor's edge. And it's very, you know, we can go either way. And at death, people see this a lot of times. And there's like, one side, there's this place of extreme darkness, horror, despair, cruelty. There's no mercy, no justice. The other side is a place of light, beauty, ecstasy, eternal pleasure. And, you know, people when they cross over and come back, a lot of them said they see it. Some go right to the dark or right to the light. But some, for a little while, they're hovering on that line between the two. This is real. Okay, I'm convinced of it. And there's rays from that dark side and rays from the light side that penetrate this world, and they influence us. And it's like they try to grab us one way or the other. There is a dark force in this world. There is a satanic energy in this world. If you want, you can call it Satanism, you can call it Baal, Lucifer, Moloch, Kali, but there is a dark force. And there's some very dark things that go on. I'm completely convinced of it. And a lot of people don't want to believe that because, well, we've kind of been brought up in this world now where there's no such thing as paranormal, there's no such thing as spiritual things, you know, it's just materialism. There's so much evidence that isn't the case, that isn't true. I could spend 10 videos just going into that. The thing is, there's a plot, and I believe it's those who serve the dark forces who don't want you to believe in the paranormal because they don't want you to believe that there is an afterlife. They don't want you to believe that there is a place of darkness you could end up going to if you're not careful. They don't want you to believe that there's any accountability for your actions. They want you to believe that you can do whatever you want and you're not going to be punished for it. I simply don't believe that. You don't see a lot of justice in this world, but in the next, I believe there's the ultimate justice. If you want to call it that. Now, I'd mentioned earlier on, I was talking about backmasking, and I'd mentioned the Beatles were the first ones to start doing this. The Beatles were involved with this, especially John Lennon. Now, there is a spiritual side to this thing. There really is. And for instance, every time I start trying to talk about Satan or Satanism in a video, my equipment starts going nuts, my camcorder starts acting up. It's like, it's taken me several days to put this video thing together. Of course, there's a lot of information here, and I've had to do some extra research, but it's just like one block, one delay after another. But I'm stubborn. I don't like it when people try to stop me from doing stuff. And like I said, their rules are they can't stop me. They can make it difficult, but they can't stop me. And it's the same for others too. It's just most people give up. Most people are afraid. Most people are afraid to fight. My opinion, there's more to be afraid of not fighting, because if you don't fight, you're going to go to hell.